Hello, everyone. This is Cindy with J. Spence Creations and appreciate you joining me today. I am going to walk you through how to make updates to a template that I sell in my Etsy shop at J. Spence Creations LLC. And this one is specific to the wedding crossword puzzle template. And really, this can apply to any other crossword templates that I may sell in the future. It really is intended to be high level to show you how to use the tools to make any adjustments. All right, so if you have purchased a template from me, you will receive a PDF that has a link to the template. Now, in this case, I've gone ahead and opened the template, and it brings up this screen, which is telling you that I have shared a template with you. You can start designing now. And what this allows you to do is it gives you a starting point to make any changes that you want to customize this for your event, whether that's this wedding template or some other type of template. It gives you a starting point and then is customizable from there. So what you're going to do is go ahead and click Use Template for New Design, and it will open up. Now you will notice I have a box, and this is coming up because I do have the Canva app. I actually am a pro user so that I can do some different things, including creating templates. But in this purpose, I am using the free version to show you what that looks like. So if you don't receive this message, don't worry. I'm only receiving it because I'm choosing to open it in the browser. So for my purpose, I'll hit no thanks. If you have the app, you can hit yes, please. But if you don't have it, hit no thanks, and it takes you right into the browser, which still allows you to do all of the editing that you need to. So from here, you will see this is the template that I have. It has a lot of places that you'll need to modify. So you will notice some templates are really more ready to go, maybe just a few edits. Because this is a very specific template to include the names of the people, the clues that you have, as well as the crossword puzzle. This one is a little more elaborate and will take more time and more effort to make that customizable. But the great thing is we've got some tools that you can use to make it as easy as possible, and you can get this up and ready to go in a relatively short amount of time. Now that can be, it may depend on your skill set. It may depend on how much time you need to bring the clues together. So take that with a grain of salt, but it is something that at least gets you started. And this video should hopefully help you walk through, get around some of those pain points that you may have if you aren't used to Canva, and get you up and running and completed in no time. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what I'll go ahead and do, I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to jump over into the tool to create the crossword. But let's say I want to go ahead before I do anything and say we want to update to Sam and Abby. That's the wedding couple that we're creating for. You can also put in a wedding date, whatever you want to do. You can customize, add some text fields, that sort of thing. The big thing we want to start with, though, and really the focal point of this template, is the crossword puzzle. Now, I have put one in here as a placeholder. It's intended to, take some pretty simplistic items and have a crossword created. So the great thing about this is you think, how do I create a crossword puzzle? Well, there is a free online version of something called Crossword Labs, and we'll jump over there and I'll show you how you can create a customized crossword in just a few minutes. Once you have the clues ready to go, it really is a pretty quick turnaround to bringing together a crossword puzzle. So probably more of the time is spent figuring out what clues you want to use, but we'll jump over there and I'll show you a quick example and then bring that over and show you how to modify your template with that. All right, so we are over here in Crossword Labs now. This is a free option online, and it is at crosswordlabs.com. So it is free, fast, and easy, as they tell you. There are some different options. This is a public version, so if you are using the public version, it is free. However, you want to read this, anyone can find that. They can view, solve, and print your puzzle. Most people won't be doing that, but I do want to call that out so that you are aware that, one, you may want to be thinking about what type of clues you put out there and what type of information, because it is viewable. So just keep that in mind. I mean, just with it being a public and free item, just kind of take that into account. So I'm going to type in a title. I'll just say wedding test. Now here I want to show you how to drop this in. So I've got a list copied from Word. You can capture this in any type of program where you can capture a list. So in this case, like Word or WordPad or something like that. It doesn't really matter. You can also type directly into this. The key thing is you want to enter the answer first, put a space, and then list the clue. And you do want to put one word / clue pair per line. And I've got the list copied. I'm going to drop this in here. I want you to watch as I drop the list here, how quickly it creates it. And this is in real time. So as I drop this, look down in the preview section. So I've dropped it and it's already created something. So that is how quick it is. So I will call out, you can create a password. If you do create a passcode, you don't want to forget it. This is your way to go in. Let's say you realize you've made a mistake and you need to make some updates. You can go in there. I will show you this piece. This is where you can kind of go through and look, and it's really taking your clues. It's just readjusting them. You may be surprised just how many options they provide you. So as you are looking at these and kind of flipping through, one thing I would say is look at the shape of the template you have. So kind of thinking about, do you want the template to be longer or do you want it to be more horizontal? So looking at it vertically, looking at it horizontally, kind of taking into account what that looks like. So I am going to call out, I had to re-record this portion of the video, so the final version that I have that I pulled over is going to look different from what I provide here. It's not a big deal, but I did want to call that out because unfortunately it did not record the screen I was hoping. So just if you see any discrepancies in the video, that is why, but really the steps remain the same. So let's say I like this one. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and finish. All right, so you get to this screen, and this is really your final screen. So it gives you the crossword puzzle that is blank. It gives you your across and down. Again, remember I said I'm using a different version as I move this over, so apologies for the lack of continuity. So just showing you this piece, but it really is the same steps. Okay, so you could see that we have the results. So a lot of this information up top, not anything you want to be concerned with. You won't need to worry about that. It really is this bottom portion here. So what we are going to do in order to get the crossword itself saved and moved over, we are going to click on PNG. Right, so we clicked PNG. That is going to open a PNG, and we're going to bring that over into our information. A few things I'll get to as a quick tip at the end of the video is you likely will want to show answers, and you may want to show a word bank. Now, if you decide to do that or you want to see what it does, you can go ahead and check. It does not make any updates until you hit update. When you do that, it does bring that in. You can select lowercase, uppercase, as entered, however you want to do that, and it will bring that in. Again, you have to hit update anytime you make any changes. That is going to be important down the road because you probably are going to want to provide your guest with a solution set, whether that is a one printed item that you leave somewhere for them to go check, or maybe one per table, but I will show you how to do that later. But for purposes of this, we've downloaded, I'm going to uncheck this, go back and update, but we have downloaded the PNG and we're going to show how to bring that over. All right, as you can see, we are back in Canva, and remember, this is set up to be a placeholder. This is not intended to be the crossword that you have to work from. You really are creating a crossword each time you want to use this that's specific to your wedding party or whatever event. So the first thing I want to do is select. So as you can see, I left clicked, and this is showing a purple box around the crossword puzzle. This is the crossword puzzle, basically the placeholder that I have. I'm going to hit delete. That removes that. I am for now going to leave these down here. These are not the solutions or the clues. These are just the items I have as a placeholder, but we'll get to that in just a minute. So if you remember when we did the download, it downloaded the PNG of the crossword puzzle. So I've got that on a separate screen. It comes up as a PNG, and I'm just going to left click and I'm going to drag it over and copy. So this is the puzzle, and you can see over here it showed you that it is pulling that in over in the uploads. You could see, maybe you caught it, where it was showing a kind of a blue color that was showing that you were bringing something in to upload. So you can see I've got this here now, and actually I really like how this size and the shape worked for the template that I have. There really isn't a lot of modification. Now, if I had made this more vertical, you would have to move some things around, which is totally fine. But in this case, I was really thinking of which visual fit the template that I have to really minimize any work that I would need to do, because that's, the name of the game. If you're trying to get something, you don't want to necessarily spend all day and make updates. Maybe that is something you want to do, and that's totally fine too. But I did pull this over, and right now you notice I'm dragging it and trying to find that solid line right there. That tells me that is in the middle of the page and is lined up. Now I'm going to show you also just real quickly. Let's say I've dropped it in and I say, wow, that doesn't look good. That's not centered. I can't get it to center. What you can do to center is, again, I'm going to click on it. So left click, you see the purple box around it. I'm going to go up to position. In the arrange section, if you're over in layers, you're not going to see that. If you go over to arrange, you want to click center. And what that does is it's centering across. Now you'll also see middle. That actually puts it in the middle of the page, kind of like in the crosshair, so to speak. So that may be something that you want. In this case, I don't necessarily need that. So I'm going to just make sure, again, click center. One way you can tell if it's centered is if it is selected and you go into this, again, position, arrange. If it is grayed out, it doesn't let you click on it. That means it is in the center. If it is at all off center, this is a clickable option. And once you click it, it does go away. So that's a quick tip and hint for how to do that. All right, so we've got the crossword puzzle lined up here. I am going to go back over to Crossword Labs. I'm going to show you how to pull over the items that are in the crossword puzzle clues. All right, so we are back over in Crossword Labs. And one thing I will say, I go ahead and leave this up as I'm moving back and forth. Because I am videoing on different screens, it is a little more disjointed than it would be if you were doing it on your home computer. You can see that I have these tabs up here. You would just basically go back and forth between the tabs to do this. But because of the fact that I can only video one screen at a time, it's making it look a little bit more disjointed. But it really is a pretty fluid process once you get going. So in this case, we're back in Crossword Labs though, and we're going to go ahead and hit close. And the reason we're doing that is because I want to come in and highlight and copy and paste these items from this over into Canva. So what I am doing is just, again, this is back to that original sheet. If you remember, this is where we hit share. So you're just going to close out of that. All right, so I am just going to highlight the words that I have. You can either do Control C, I believe that's Command C on a Mac, whatever you do to copy and paste. So you can also do a right click and do copy. We're going to jump back over into Canva and I'll show you how to drop these in. And I will say it is the same thing for down. So we'll do those here in just a minute. I won't walk through that a second time, but it is the same thought process and the same steps to do that. So we'll jump back over into Canva and show you how to drop these in. Okay, so as you can see, we are back over in Canva. And if you remember, I have these as placeholders. So we had the clues from my former crossword puzzle that I had placed in here, but we don't want to keep these. We actually want to replace these and put in the words that are appropriate for your clues. So I am going to leave the across, and when we get over to the down side, I'll leave down as well, because you do want to say those. You need to tell the people where this is an across clue, this is a down clue, and then these will line up with the numbers that we have. So I'm going to highlight and hit delete. Now from here, you want to just make sure that you are ready to drop in. So it's like any other program, Word or anything like that. What I've done is, if you can see my mouse or if you can see the cursor, it's right after the A. I'm just going to get to the end of the word. I'm going to hit enter, and that drops it down directly below across. And in this case, I'm going to, you can either Control V, paste, however you need to paste that in. All right, I want to show you that I have never had this happen, but I'm leaving it in here because I think it might be helpful in case you run into this. So automatically it's bringing in the right numbers, but if you'll notice, you see it says 1, 2, and 3, and then it's got 4, 7, and 8. Well, if you go back to Crossword Labs, you may remember that we had 4, 7, and 8 as our clues. 1, 2, and 3 should not have picked up. However, when I highlight these, I see it is thinking that I'm putting in a list. So it is selecting and saying, hey, you've got numbers. I want to go ahead and put in numbers too. You notice this is purple up here, so that's where my first clue was, is that it's picking that up. If I left click on that, it actually goes away. So nothing is highlighted. This, if this were highlighted, it would be a bullet. But that is something I just wanted to go ahead and drop that in because I had not seen that happen before. So it's just a troubleshooting. If you happen to see it, that may not be the case. You may not have to do that. But if you do, I wanted to show you how to troubleshoot as you copy and paste and bring this over. So I'm going to go back over to Crossword Labs. I'll bring over the information for the down section and then we'll start back up here. All right, so as you can see, I have dropped in the down and it did the exact same thing to me where it brought these in. I also noticed that these for some reason are bolded. So number 8 is bolded. I'm not sure, this is the first time I've seen this happen, but again, just for troubleshooting purposes to let you all see how I fix this. You see how, again, this is purple. So that is a really quick, notice that if you highlight it, you say, okay, this something is going on. So anytime you have something selected, you can see that pretty clearly with the purple. So what I do is I click it and it is going to unbold or remove the bold from it. Same situation. For some reason, this one picked up to bold and I'm not sure why. But again, just figured I would include that because you do want it to look the same. So it did not bold over here. Unfortunately, it did put, there we go. It did put a number. So you may have to clean up some things. Like I mentioned, this is not anything I'd seen before. I've made several of these. So there may be some different ways that if you copy and paste a certain way, it may look slightly different. Take a look. Hopefully those are probably the big things that I would recommend looking at, that you just want to make sure if you see something trying to give you the things, instead of cutting it out as a blooper, I'll just show you how to fix those because that obviously happened here and I want you to be aware of it. So we've got these now, and I do leave these separate. You could copy and paste across in Crossword Labs. I leave these separate because it allows me a little bit more flexibility where I can move some things and, kind of make it adapt as I need to. All right, so we are going to jump in how to make some edits. So first we'll edit, and let's say we put this in. I have the above and beyond. So kind of to walk through this is the font, this is the font size, this is the text color or the font color. This, again, we just walked through this, you can bold, italicize, underline, strike through, uppercase, lowercase, all alignment, all of these things, just like you would see in another, like a word product or something like that. This is for transparency and effects. So there are a lot of different things you can do here. I'm not going to go into all of these, but I will show you a few of the things that really you might want to look at and see what you want to modify. Okay, so let's say I have in Sam and Abby. I don't really like how that looks. Maybe I want to change that. And I go over here, and if you click in the box for font, it will open up fonts over to the left, and you are able to take a look. And again, you can see this one says this is the document fonts. You've got above and beyond script selected, but maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to go down and find something different, but I want it in the handwriting. Let's say I want to keep that handwriting. It looks very elegant, but maybe I just don't like that view. So what I can do is I can scroll down. You can see the names of the font as well as what they look like. So just as a word of warning, you may get overwhelmed. There are a lot of different fonts, and it may feel like you're never going to get there. But just you can look through however you want to do that. If you see some fonts that you like, you can find those. But let's say I want to go ahead and scroll down. I want to call out that there are some fonts that you really can't use. If you see this and it's grayed out, click on it and you will see that you have to upgrade to use this feature. So if it's not showing in black, it is a grayed out feature because it is a pro font. Now there are two different ways I want to kind of call out for pro elements. A pro font you cannot use at all unless you upgrade to Canva Pro. You do not need Canva Pro unless you are using Canva a lot. There is a charge for it. It's not super cheap. It's not expensive, but it's not super cheap if you're really only using it one time or a few times. You really can do most things in the free version, so I want to call that out. But a font, you cannot pick a pro font and pay for it. However, an element, it will allow you to select, and it will tell you that there is a charge per element for that. And we'll get into that in a few minutes, but I wanted to call that out. So in this case, if you see some grayed out fonts, you cannot use those. Even if you like it, the only way to use it is to upgrade to the Pro version. Now I'm going to scroll back up. I saw one that I liked. I like this Brittany font, and I'm going to go ahead and change it. Now, let's say it's a smaller font, so not every font is created the same. You can have different fonts at the same size and they can look totally different. So the next thing I'll show you is how to increase the font size. There are multiple ways to do this. So you can see here you've got font size 58. You can do minus, which makes it smaller. You can do plus, which makes it bigger. You can also highlight this, and let's say you want to go to font size 65, type in 65 and hit enter. Automatically increases the size. You can also use this and drop down and see it gives you some different sizes available, but you also have the different sizes in between. These are not the only sizes available, but it just kind of gets you some quick increases that you can do. You can also go ahead and click on the corner here, and if you notice, it's got a dual arrow, and you can highlight and drag that out. I'm doing it that way because I want you to see it did not keep this in the center. So let's say you go, oh gosh, that does not look like what I want it to be. It doesn't look good. It's not centered. What do I do? Again, multiple ways to fix this. So with anything in Canva, you'll see there are multiple ways to get to the same result. So I'll try to show you at least several. So in this case, again, I'm hovered over it. You see the purple box. If I click on it, it is just showing that purple box. If I left click, you will see as I start to drag, so I'm holding my left mouse button and I'm dragging, and you can see there's a four-way arrow. That is telling you you are moving this element and trying to get it in alignment. Now, you may see some lines that are starting to pop up. Now, right in the middle, you see there is a purple line. The purple line is saying I'm right in the middle of this document in the center of that line. So I'm going to go ahead and let go, and you're ready to go. Now, in this case, it still is too big, so it's up in this element. And let's say we wanted to keep this element, so we really don't want it that big. I'm going to go ahead and drag it. So look, it made it a little bit smaller. So dragging it from this really held it over in that side, and so it made it off center. So the second way you can update the position is go up here to position, click on that, and go into arrange. Now, if you happen to have layers, this is a different area, but if you want to go over into arrange, align to page is what you want to look for, and you'll want to hit center. So that brings it in. Now, if you accidentally, and I've done this more times than I care to admit, I forget if it's center or middle, even though they have graphics here to show you what it is. If you hit middle, it's putting it at the middle of the page, and that's not where we want it. So I'm going to go ahead and undo, which you can click over here or do a Control Z, or if you have a Mac, I think it might be Command Z, and move it back up. But you can see if it is at all off center, this does allow you to click on it. Once you are in the center, it no longer allows you to click. It's showing you it's grayed out. It's got the red mark that says you cannot select. This is telling you it's in the center. And one thing I would say is you get everything lined up, and if you have things that you want to be in the center, I would go through and just kind of highlight. Again, this one actually is not in the center right now, so it just moved it a hair, but that allowed it to move over. Again, this one wasn't in the center. So just kind of as you get ready to clean things up, get ready to print, that is a great option where you can just quickly go into this, click the different elements. This one's already in the center. You can see it's highlighted. It does not allow me to click center. These will be different because they are not. You don't want to center both of them, because then if you do this, they would be right on top of each other. You don't want to do that. So you really only want to do the items that make sense to center. All right, so we've changed the font, we have changed the size. You can also change the color. Now, in this case, it doesn't make any sense to do that. Let's say I went to red. You really don't want that because that is not in alignment with the feel of it. I want to call out how to do elements now. So we want to change this out. Let's say we're happy with everything here. We've lined everything up. However, now we want to go ahead and change out the element. Maybe I don't want this flower here. I'm going to go ahead and again select the item so you can see that it is noted with a purple box around it. I'm going to hit delete. Now you may notice this was the same element down here. It did not delete when I hit delete. That is because I put these as two separate elements on purpose so that I could have greater capability to make adjustments as I needed. So just to call that out. To make an update, I will go over into Elements and go over to this far left side, click Elements, and you're going to search for an element that you want. There are a lot of options, and sometimes it's hard if you're not used to this. This is sometimes hard to see what is the visual you want. You may type something in and it's not available, or it's not how you envisioned it. That is one reason that I have these templates ready made. So I try to bring in some different visuals, different elements that you like. You may want to have a certain aesthetic, but that doesn't mean you have to keep it. So let's say I've done recent, so you can see here, line art is nice because it's a very simplistic, it's a very minimalistic, and really an elegant type of visual that I'm going for in this wedding. So you can type that in because I've searched it before. I can actually, I'll go over to floral line art. I can go ahead and click that. Now, because everything else is a graphic, I really don't want a photo in there. A photo would probably be, there are a few things like this that are not quite as dramatic, but in this case, I want to stay with a graphic. So you can either select graphic up here or select graphic, see all. They do give the same, it's up here and down below. All right, so one of the things, if you recall, I mentioned earlier that you do have the ability to pull in a pro element. However, it will charge you. So you can see the top 6 items are pro elements. So you search floral line art, you've got a lot of options, but these top 6 and then various ones throughout are picking up the pro. If I hover over it, it's telling you, hey, you can use this premium image, but you do need to either upgrade to Canva Pro, which I do not recommend. You don't need that. You either have to upgrade or you can pay $1 US dollar for a pro content license. That is per element. So let's say you go crazy, you bring in 20 items, they're all pro, and you think, wow, this looks great. You would have to pay $20 as you check out. You aren't able to just kind of download it without paying. You can't trick the system. It will cause you to pay, or you have to go back and change out the elements. So calling it out now so that you're aware. I don't want you to be surprised at the end. That is a Canva thing. That is not a template thing. Everything that I have in the template is currently available for free. One thing to note, Canva does make changes. So if you ever open up this template and you realize, hey, it's charging me and I didn't make any changes, from time to time, we have seen that they may change something from a free element to a paid element. And if that's the case, you would just need to delete that. You can also reach back out and let me know. I always want to make sure that I'm keeping this as a free version. So those of you who do not have Pro are able to do, make adjustments without having to do a lot of things. You can reach out and let me know. But that does happen from time to time. But at the time of this filming, everything is a free element, and that makes it easier for you. So let's say we're ready to go. We found, we scroll down and we've got quite a few elements here that we can use. Let's say we think this one, actually we'll use this. We like this one, but gosh, it's not really it's not in the way I want. I want to put it up here in the corner and it's not really ready to go. So here's a tip. You can actually use flip. Now, if you're like me, and again, another thing I'm admitting to is I sometimes forget which one to click, but the great thing is if you click it twice, you're right back to where you are, where you started. So you can do that. Now, in this case, I'm going to flip it vertical. Now, it wouldn't work for this corner, so then I'll also flip it horizontal. And that really is a nice element that you could put up in the top. It looks like it is made to kind of encapsulate the area. Maybe I want to make this a little bit smaller. So just like we did the text, you can do this and kind of drag it down and we can put that there. If you wanted to do the same thing and use the same down below, you actually can go ahead. Let's say we wanted to delete this. We want to use this. You can actually right click. You can duplicate. You can see the keyboard shortcuts. So I oftentimes just do a Control D. That's a quick way to do it without having to right click and then click in to duplicate. But that either way works fine. So we're going to duplicate it and we'll bring it down here. Now we have the opposite of where we are. We have a situation where it looks great up here, but it's not aligned. So again, you would just have this selected, make sure that it is in purple. We're going to click flip. We're going to go ahead and flip it vertical and flip it horizontal, and that is going to bring it down to where we can align it. And then we have, kind of a bookmark here in the corners. So those are some ways to make some changes. You can change out anything here. You can change out the sip and solve. You can see there is an element behind here. You can change that out. I would say if you have elements that are on top of each other, this one you can clearly tell it is highlighting the ring, but you might not if the wording were smaller. Maybe you couldn't tell. So one thing I would recommend is if you can't tell for sure, click on position, click on layers, and it will let you highlight the thing that you want to do. So in this case, let's say we wanted to remove it. I can just click delete and it has removed the ring. You can replace it with something else. In this case, I'm going to put it back, but it's really helpful when you get into a template that has a lot of elements. You just can't find what you're looking for. As you hover over it, though, you can see it is highlighting, and then if you click on it, it will go ahead and note that it has selected that item. So just a few things there. All right, let's say I do want to put a text box. I want to add an extra text box and I want it to say the date of the wedding. So you can do that a variety of ways. You can do text, you can add a text box, you can click T here, which you can see actually brought in a text box. There are a few ways to do it. Probably the easiest to make sure that you're not doing something wrong is I'll just go in and add a text box here. Now, that brought it out in a really odd format, so you might just have to drag and drop. Let's say I want to put in the wedding date here. Let's say it's July 5th, 2025. I can click on that. I might want that a little bit bigger. You can see it brought in this font here. Maybe I don't want that. You can change that just the same way you did before. But that's another way that you can adapt this and make it different or add an element. I may or may not have that in the final template. We'll see. But if it's not there and you want a text box for any reason, maybe you have a saying that the couple uses that you want to put in there, you can adapt this. Don't feel like you have to just keep to the boxes you have. You can delete boxes, you can add boxes, you can add text, you can add additional elements. All of this is fully customizable for you. So make this your own, make it what you want. But let's say we're ready to go, we like it. We're going to go ahead and go up here to the corner. We're going to hit share. You are going to go to download. So again, you remember before I mentioned you can't just print directly from this. You do have to download it. This is where you do that, and it will give you some options. All right, so you can see here, it suggests PNG, and really it does that at any point. That's not what we want to download this as. We actually want to go to PDF print. It is the best for printing. So when we click that, you'll notice that the options that were down here kind of changed. In this case, I'm not using any crop marks. I'm not flattening. I'm not including notes. Those are things that you may need to use on different templates, and those would be called out if you needed to. But in this case, this template is not something I need to do that for. You will see color profile. The only option you have available on the free version is RGB. You cannot use CMYK, and typically you don't need that anyway, especially with black and white, so you're good to go there. Once you're ready, you go ahead and hit download. You can see that it is showing me it is downloading it, and it does bring it up to the top. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So if you're not sure, did it download? You can actually see in the URL, this is the PDF version. And for those of you who might not know, PDF is basically just kind of taking that snapshot. This is not editable. If you click on it, you can highlight, but it's not going to let you click anything and change anything. If you need to make any updates, because it never fails, I get to this point and I realize, oh gosh, I forgot to do something. Just go back into Canva. You would click on anything just like you were doing, and then you would go back to share, re-download. Make sure you do re-download. If you are just going in and making changes and not re-downloading it, this never changed. This is a snapshot. It's not automatically updating to what you changed in Canva. So just make sure if you make any changes, you download it again. This is ready to go. Now you have a few ways you can print this. Typically you're going to want to print this, whether that's at home, whether that is at a local print shop, a local store that has printing. I also am an affiliate for Prints of Love, so I will make the disclaimer that I do potentially earn a commission on any items that are purchased through my link and my coupon code. So I want to disclose that, but they are a great partner. And if you have a lot, that can be a good solution. So I will include that information on here, but really find the way that makes sense for you. It really can be done however you want. That's the beauty of this. You are taking this, you are adapting it, and then you can print that out however it makes sense to you. So one last thing that I mentioned early on is that you may want to go ahead and provide answers to the group. So that is something that you probably would want to do. You'll have to figure out how it makes sense and how best to do that. But again, as we talked about earlier, you can hit show answers, you can hit show word bank and hit update. All right, so if you do want to show the answers, you would just click. In this case, you can see it is putting it in lowercase letters. If I hit PNG, I will jump back over and show you how that pulls in. All right, so bonus tip here is if you want to go ahead and you want to recreate without having to completely change things around. You've got everything how you set how you want, but you do want to include the print off or ability to print off with the crossword solutions. I'm going to show you a quick tip here how to do that. So if you are in your Canva and you go up here and you see duplicate page, what that's going to do is drop down an exact image of what you have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click here and hit delete. So remember, we already have the clues in here that are used for this particular crossword, but we want to have the ability to at least print, one or many, however you choose to do this, but we want to be able to print a solution key because there's nothing more frustrating than getting through and not knowing if you got the right answer. So if you remember, I downloaded that. I'm just going to drag it over from another screen. And here we go. It has the solution. Again, this we selected lowercase, so it is bringing it in a certain font. You really can't change that, but it is bringing in that PNG. Again, if you remember earlier, I was just trying to make sure that's centered. But now you've got that ability to go ahead and have it solved for your people. This is page 2, so I want to call this out. The second piece of this is if you do it like this, where you're duplicating a page, which I think is easiest, when you go to share, you can make sure, one thing you want to make sure, I go to PDF print, remember we went to PDF print, and it will show you select pages. So right now, both pages are selected, so it actually is going to download this as a zip file. Just be aware that you can also select and say, I just want to print this out. You can print either page, select that. If you want to print them out separately, that avoids any type of zip file if that's not something you're comfortable with. In this case, let's say we go and we want to just select current page, we can do that. Current page, you see up here, page 2, you can see that it's page 2. That will print out just this, and then you can take that and print, same situation, print that wherever you want. So just wanted to call that out. Also, if you wanted to bring in the word bank, same thing, same way we did the across and down, you could copy from Crossword Labs and drop in a word bank. So again, a lot of different ways that you can vary this and make it your own. All right, thanks so much and enjoy.